White settlers had pushed Native Americans westward since the 1600s as they took more and more of their land, although there were still many natives in the east in the early 1600s. Indians adapting into white culture were what some whites hoped for, while others wanted natives to move for they believed this was the only way to avoid conflict over land. Many whites felt that Native Americans were uncivilized and did not want to live near them. The majority of them were in the southeast. Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Creek, and Seminole were considered the 5 civilized tribes by whites for they adopted many aspects of white culture. More than any other tribe, the Cherokee had adopted white custom. They owned prosperous farms and cattle ranches. The Cherokee even owned slaves as well as read the Bible. The Cherokee drew up a constitution based on the U.S. Constitution and founded the Cherokee Nation in 1827. A year later after this occurred, gold was discovered on their land in Georgia. Now, both settlers and miners shared the same interest for these lands. The discovery in gold increased demands by whites to move the Cherokee. The plan to remove Native Americans from the southeast was how the federal government responded. A policy of moving Native Americans west of the Mississippi was long supported by Andrew Jackson. He first dealt with the southern eastern tribes after the War of 1812. Jackson believed that the government had the right to regulate where the Native Americans would live within the borders of the United States. He thought that the Native Americans could either adopt the white people's way of living and become citizens of the United States, or move into the Western territories. However, they could not have their own governments within the nation's border. Whites began to move into the Cherokee land after the discovery of gold. Georgia and southern states passed laws that gave them the right to take over Native American land. Jackson asked Congress to pass a law that would require natives to move west or submit to state laws. Many Americans objected Jackson's proposal, such as Massachusetts Congressman Edward Everett and religious groups such as the Quakers. After a heated debate in 1830, the Indian Removal Act was passed by Congress. Jackson believed the policy was just and liberal and would allow Native Americans to keep their way of living, but the policy caused much hardship and forever changed the relations between both whites and Native Americans. Native Americans had no choice but to sign treaties, exchanging their land for land in the West as whites invaded their homelands. Under these treaties, Native Americans would be moved to an area that covered up what is now present-day Oklahoma and parts of Kansas and Nebraska, in which these areas came to be called Indian Territory. The Cherokee were sent to camps where there wasn't enough food and blankets, and disease struck before the actual march. In 1838, the Cherokee were forced to travel hundreds of miles long by wagon, horse, donkey, and foot. This harsh journey of the Cherokee from their homeland to Indian Territory became known as the Trail of Tears. Soldiers took people from their homes with nothing but clothes on their back. Their long journey west was during the fall and winter of 1838 and 1839. Many grew weak and ill as they marched in the cold, rain, and snow without proper clothing. Most walked with bare feet, and even the elderly were forced to carry heavy packs on their backs. Nearly a third died before the march was over. 13 died every stop. They were not allowed to have proper burials, in which many were buried on the side of the road. 4,000 died in the Trail of Tears. At the end of their journey, they were able to settle in what is now modern-day Oklahoma. The descendants of these people lived scattered throughout the original Cherokee Indian homelands. The Cherokee Nation would forever be remembered as strong, peaceful, and self-sacrificing.
Please don't drop it. It's gonna smell nasty. I'm still gonna make you wear it.
No! Camera? Camera?
Forward. Oh wait, we're walking the wrong direction.
Yeah.
You okay, Teresa?
Oh, check this. Is that the kind of soldier you are?
You dropped the baby.
Baby! Oh, she's running. Because I'm not. Back it up.
Yeah.
Back it up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Damn you! Oh my god. Firewood! Firewood!
Oh, should we have like a scene where you're...
Trust in me, because I will do this.
Wow.
Stop doing that! You're like, ah!
Wait, did you really eat the berry?
It's toxic!
Oh.
Bebe!
No?
Buka!
I want
Your brother. West! Go west, man! West! Go west! Don't go west! West! Go west!
You okay? Let's go.
Hey! Hey! Ah! That's me! You!
We lit a fire. Whoa.
At least a buffalo.
Oh, the chicken.
Where are you?
This is how we survive, guys.
No, it's more like how we die.
Oh, still, I want to